I'm Bradley Kuhn. I'm the president of the Software Freedom Conservancy. The Software Freedom Conservancy is a nonprofit charity, and our basic mission is to do for open source and free software projects all the things that developers don't like to do that are very important for open source and free software projects. So developers are very good at writing great free software and documentation, but they're often not so great at the organizational and infrastructural and logistical work that a nonprofit can do for them. So we take care of that work so the volunteers can keep writing great free software. GSOC is really an amazing program for the Conservancy because we're an aggregate umbrella organization. So we have many different open source and free software projects under our umbrella. And many of those are in GSOC every year. It averages between 6 and 12% of all of GSOC are Conservancy member projects. And in fact, we get many new applicants who come into GSOC and have a real interest in joining Conservancy because it's often the first moment when they realize they need infrastructural services. And I'll explain what I mean. Most people don't realize that GSOC is probably the largest annual philanthropic program for open source and free software in existence today. It gives away a tremendous amount of revenue and resources to important open source and free software projects. And it's often the first moment that a project realizes that there might be revenue coming in, donations from Google, for example, that need to be handled by someone. And the best place, in my view, to handle that is at a nonprofit charity, which can then put the resources to good use to further advance the project. So in fact, every year we get many new applicants to Conservancy who have joined the GSOC program and realized that it would be just great if they could have a nonprofit that could handle the details of the logistics of coordinating with Google to receive the donations and to get them to this Mentor Summit conference and so forth. So I think that the GSOC program is incredibly well designed right now, and one of the great things that happens for my organization through GSOC is it basically identifies great new open source and free software projects that would make great members for our organization. Many of our applicants, as I mentioned, have come through the GSOC program and decided to apply to us. And this year we had 8 of our member projects participating in GSOC. And my goal really is to encourage more of our projects to be engaged and to offer our services to those who have discovered GSOC. They might discover that they also might find value in being part of a nonprofit charity to do programs like GSOC elsewhere as well. So if you run an open source or free software project and you don't have any sort of organizational affiliation yet, normally this is how most projects exist. They're a ragtag band of volunteers trying to make great free software. They should certainly look at Conservancy's website at sfconservancy.org and look at our applications instructions. We're always welcoming new applications of projects that want to have the benefits of being part of a nonprofit organization, but want to stay focused on what they do best, which is open source and free software development. I believe we were in the very first GSOC program. I think we had 1 or 2 projects. I think our Inkscape member project was one of the first in the very first GSOC. And every year we've had more and more of our projects in GSOC. Amusingly, the percentage goes down because GSOC keeps growing so big. But we always have at least 7 or 8 of our projects in GSOC every year. I myself have not been a mentor for a while. I was a mentor back in 2006. But I sort of serve the role of what I call a meta org admin. So I coordinate with all the org admins of our projects who are in Conservancy, and I help them do all those logistical things I was talking about, like getting their flights booked here to the conference, making sure they get reimbursed, making it easy for Google to give money to the projects. So we do a single invoice for Google for all our projects, and the reason we do that is because we want to make it easy for Google to help us and make it easy for them to process helping out our projects. So we try to do our best to make it very easy for Google to help out projects. Well, if you're a developer, you should look at all the different Conservancy projects that exist and think about contributing to those. One of the great things about the GSOC program is that it brings together the most diverse group of free software projects. When I look at our organization, the Software Freedom Conservancy, we have so many different member projects in so many different areas of free software development. The Mentor Summit is the place that I can come to see all of them because they never go to the same conference except for this one, because GSOC has done such a good job at bringing together all these different free software projects and getting them to talk to each other in ways that really no other program today does. The Software Freedom Conservancy is at sfconservancy.org, and there are links to all our member projects there and information on how to join and volunteer for the Software Freedom Conservancy and our member projects.